Good morning, everyone. I am Gloria Roberts, Caltrans District 7 Director. We're so excited to be here this morning as we've continued to make significant progress in fixing the 10. And I want you to know that we are doing this with the support of both the Biden-Harris administration as well as the Newsom administration. It is incredible to get this level of leadership and commitment. And so I thank Vice President Harris and also Governor Newsom. But our greatest thanks really goes to the contractors and their laborers who have been working so hard and around the clock. And I'd also like to continue to thank the Caltrans District 7 and headquarters teams for their tireless energy and dedication to public service. Lastly, we thank the City of LA and all Angelenos for their patience during this time. And so with that, I bring you Mayor Karen Bass.
Good morning, Los Angeles. This is a great day in our city, and I think it is a wonderful example of how and why we got this job done. First and foremost, the workforce that worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the numbers of workers on the site here who doubled and tripled as everyone came together, but showing the unity from the White House to the governor to our senator, all of us standing together to make sure that this got done and the 10 will be open. There are other leaders here I want to acknowledge: our CEO of Metro, Stephanie Wiggins, our General Manager of the Department of Transportation, Laura Rubio Conejo, and our Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley, and the over 100 firefighters that put the fire out. Elected officials in the area: Congresswoman Kamala, Assemblymember Miguel Santiago, and Supervisor Hilda Solis. Everyone came together with the urgency, knowing what it means to have a freeway where 300,000 Angelenos pass every single day, and the disruption that that caused in our city. I want to thank Angelenos for being informed, for following the directions, staying on the freeway, and most importantly, taking advantage of Metro. Trains increase, times were faster, and ridership was up 10%. As life gets back to normal over the next few days, I hope that Angelenos that participated and joined Metro and rode Metro maybe for the first time will understand what a convenience it is, and we will continue to use public transportation. Let me again just thank everyone who worked 24 hours a day to make this effort happen. Thank again our governor for his leadership, senator, and of course, our vice president. The White House made it clear from day one that they were going to do whatever it took in order to get Angelenos safe and life back to normal. And let me introduce now Senator Alex Padilla.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. When the fire first broke out last week on I-10, those of us who live and work anywhere near Los Angeles know just how significant this was, and we were braced for the worst. But I'm happy to be here today. It's Sunday before Thanksgiving, but we don't have to wait till Thursday to give thanks. To give thanks for the opening before the Thanksgiving holiday of the I-10 freeway for folks who are working this week, folks who will be traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday, and to give thanks to all the workers who made this possible. We can't thank them enough. Workers at Caltrans, the contractors, workers at the different transportation agencies, the fire agencies, Cal Fire, LA Fire, others who tackled the fire last Sunday. But really a big thanks for the true cooperation and collaboration that happened to make this announcement possible. From the local level, Mayor Bass and her team, the state level, Governor Newsom, legislative leaders, departments and agencies, and of course at the federal level, the Biden-Harris administration, the Federal Highway Administration, and others. It took all of us coming together to make sure that this announcement would come in a matter of days, not in a matter of weeks or months. You know, we don't have the specific final price tag on this, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less than $3 million, but the bottom line is this will be covered by federal funds, thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed and signed a couple of years ago. The emergency funds are a result of this law, which is in and of itself a once-in-a-generation investment in our nation's infrastructure. And to piggyback on Mayor Bass's announcement, that law is not just responsible for funding the repair and reopening of I-10. The bipartisan infrastructure law is also a significant investment in public transit, which many commuters first experienced this last week. And we hope that they had such a good experience that it becomes a norm. It becomes a regular way to get to and from work. So again, to everybody involved, just a big thank you, thank you, thank you. And to Angelenos, welcome back to I-10. Now, just briefly, a few words in Spanish. Aunque hoy es domingo y esta semana celebramos el Día de Acción de Gracias, no tenemos que esperar hasta el jueves para dar las gracias a todos los trabajadores que han hecho este anuncio posible. Vamos a reabrir la carretera 10 aquí en Los Ángeles antes de lo que primero se esperaba. Estamos reabriendo no después de meses de construcción, no solo después de semanas de trabajo, sino días. En una semana se pudo reparar esta carretera en una manera segura para reabrir para todos los angelinos que trabajan, que utilizan esta carretera para llegar a donde van y que van a utilizar esta carretera para visitar a familiares y amistades este jueves para celebrar el Día de Acción de Gracias. Y solo fue posible por el liderazgo y colaboración de todos los líderes y las agencias involucradas a nivel federal, inclusive el apoyo de la administración Biden-Harris a nivel estatal, especialmente la oficina del gobernador Newsom, y a nivel local, gracias al apoyo y participación del alcalde Karen Bass. And with that, let me introduce our quarterback this last week, our governor, Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Thank you is the operative word. I'll be expressing a great deal of thanks. But first, let me just thank all of you, and I mean all the Angelenos out there that have had to suffer through the last week or so. You know, it was a week or so ago that we were here, not knowing if we would be here at this moment announcing the reopening for 6 more months. We were talking about replacing the structure. We were talking about this historic fire that took out roughly 100 columns, 4 or 5 particularly severely. We were talking about replacing a large portion of this freeway. Fortunately, after the test came back, we were in a position to make a subsequent announcement that it would be a 3 to 5 week period where we would retrofit and we'd shore this up. The good news is there was more good news. And as a consequence, we were able to double down on what we doubled down on previously, working with Griffith, who did an amazing job in the debris removal. They got us 2 or 3 days ahead of schedule, working with security crews and working with our partners locally. We were able to secure the kind of equipment that we needed to get on site to make sure that we were able to complement that with the man hours, woman hours, the labor hours, 10,000 labor hours all told to get us to this point ahead of schedule, 8 days to get this thing open and operational. And that means, if you're doing the math, that this thing opens tonight. It will be fully operational tomorrow. So, ready for the commute. Look, thanks to the team. Gloria and the D7 team, Tokes, and our Secretary of Transportation, Tony, the head of Caltrans, Tom, engineers, and Ramon, our chief construction steward, to the incredible crew at Caltrans that worked overtime to make sure this worked, to building constructions unions, to the laborers, to the operating engineers, the pile drivers, to the teamsters, to the electricians, and yes, to the carpenters that stepped up in every way, shape, or form. This was a union job, and they came in weeks and weeks ahead of schedule. And so you can be assured of one thing: safety first, quality, foundational in this effort. It wasn't just speed that we were after. We wanted to make sure this thing was safe. And after those safety inspections late last night and early this morning, we'll need about 8 or so hours once we all clear off, and we'll get this thing back and operational. The question, of course, for many of you will be, when will we see those permanent fixes secured? That will be over the course of many weeks, maybe a few months, but that won't significantly impact the commute or impact the 5 lanes that are now open in both directions. We will be able to do that with some episodic closures, likely at night, and they'll be for very short periods of time. We'll get that Alameda ramp open as quickly as possible. It's currently closed. It will not be open tomorrow. Lawrence between 10th and 14th Street will need a little bit more time to open up as well. We're mindful of the importance, the imperative of opening up those corridors, particularly for local businesses in the area. But this is a significant and a big day. And what was also significant and big in every way was the support of the federal administration. And I want to, before I introduce the Vice President, brag a little bit on Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, who was on the phone within hours of this original incident, to Mitch Landrieu, who was on the phone again this morning, checking in on this announcement, to Administrator Bott, who is once again here with us, who's been on the scene from the early days of this incident, who's been outstanding, to the President, who was in town talking about this just a few days ago and was on the phone well over a week ago checking in on this, and the Vice President, who's been checking in on a consistent and daily basis. You've heard that from Mayor Bass in their conversations, and we're just honored and privileged to have her here at this critical moment as well. Before, again, briefly introduce the Vice President, let me again brag on your mayor. It's all about partnership. It's all about making sure there's seamlessness in terms of the communication and the engagement. That's the only way these things work. And it would not have happened at the speed that it happened without her incredible support. And so on behalf of our team and Ann and my legal team, and yes, shout out to the lawyers that were incredibly instrumental in all of this, I just want to thank you, Madam Mayor, for your extraordinary leadership and support throughout this process. But again, this is a federal jurisdiction. It requires federal support at the highest levels of government. It requires not just passing glances and interest. It requires commitment and requires stewardship and leadership. And that is a good way to describe our partner at the federal level, one of our own. And that makes it a little bit easier for us. And it's my honor to introduce to you the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Thank you, Governor. Well, as one of the first in a very long time Californians to be associated with the White House and living in Los Angeles, I was acutely aware of what closure of the 10 would mean for so many people. Hardworking people, families, many people who, when it was shut down, they can't work from home. Their work requires them to be present. And so I want to applaud the leadership of the governor, the mayor, the senator, and so many others. Caltrans, we had a chance to visit this morning. The men and women there, the men and women of organized labor, the unions. The work that happened here is extraordinary. And it really is a function of the will and the ambition of the workers on the ground who understood what closure of the 10 would mean for folks on a daily basis, and their commitment as public servants, as union members, to get this thing done. And, you know, we can give the fancy speeches all day long, but we're able to stand here and do this because they did this work on the ground. In many cases, working as many as 14 hours a day. out of sheer commitment and a sense of duty and responsibility to deliver for the people of Los Angeles. So it's extraordinary work that happened here. And yes, Governor, Madam Mayor, the Senator, we all talked on a daily basis practically. And the estimates were that this was going to take a long time. There were some who said that a 3 to 4 week estimation was ambitious. But these folks, these people who work every day on this, who are experts, who understand the specifics, who understand the detail, they didn't listen to all that. They just did the work and they saw it through. And on behalf of President Biden and myself and our administration, we applaud this work. And this is the kind of work, frankly, that is happening around the country, where hardworking men and women, carpenters, laborers, city workers, county workers, government workers are rebuilding America. We have invested billions of dollars in rebuilding America's roads and bridges, lead pipes removal, what we are doing to ensure that all families have access and can afford high-speed internet. This is all about rebuilding America's infrastructure. And it has been a commitment of ours from day one. Many talked about doing it. You'll remember Infrastructure Week. By the way, it never happened.
Every week.
But what we have been able to accomplish is, for California alone, a $33 billion commitment to help build back up the infrastructure in our home state. We're looking at already over 1,100 projects underway in California because of the work and the commitment that Joe Biden and I and our administration have had to ensure that federal dollars come to states like California to do the work that must be done. And so I want to, again, applaud everybody. And then to all the Angelinos, I would just say this. Tomorrow, the commute is back on. And happy Thanksgiving. There's so much to be thankful for. You know, we're living in a world right now where it's heavy, and it's hard. And when we can have these moments to applaud the commitment of people to folks that they never meet, these workers, their commitment to the families and the individuals who need to pass this freeway every day, it's a moment to give thanks for the folks who care and to remember that we're all in this together. So thank you, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Hear, hear.
As we said a moment ago, as soon as everything gets cleared off, they'll finish a little bit more of their safety inspections, clear everything up, and we should get cars rolling later this evening. Again, fully open, 5 lanes, both directions, by commute tomorrow morning. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Governor, can you give us an update on the arson investigation, as well as the push to make sure that other overpass areas where there is storage happening are safe?
Yeah, as we mentioned a week ago and a few days ago, we updated you on the investigation on airspace leases throughout the state. High priority airspace leases. That investigation, in partnership with LA Fire Department, with the State Fire Marshal, Caltrans, has been ongoing, and we'll release the results of that as early as Wednesday. We want to get this open first, but we'll have a preliminary analysis of that. Just a quick update on Apex, the lessee that illegally subleased and was in arrears on their rent. Will be in court in January, early February. They had 5 leases. Today, he's in possession. That corporation's in possession of just 1 in Sun Valley. We have taken over, relinquished 3 of the other leases outside of this, and we're securing those sites. But that prioritization in terms of that assessment for air leases broadly will be prioritized with high priority. That investigation we'll present to you Wednesday. The ongoing investigation of air leases across the state will take a little bit more time.
And on the arson investigation, we know that there was a photograph released. Is there anything more on that at all, or a suspected motive?
Yes, there's the person of interest. The photograph was released. We had a lot of incoming as a consequence of that. That photograph was shown around the world, which is exactly what we intended and hoped for. We still are looking forward to anyone that wishes to come forward with any information around this suspect, this person of interest in this arson investigation. They can call 1-800-468-4408, 4408 confidential tip line. We encourage people to do that. Lots have, but I have no more to add beyond the fact that we released that photo and had a lot of interest and a lot of good incoming.
Hi, Governor. Alex Michelson from Fox 11 Los Angeles. Obviously, there was a lot of urgency to get this done.
Yes.
And this is an example of government working in terms of getting it open. What is the lesson learned on this urgency that may be applied to other things like homelessness or other things where we see the entire government come together and say, we're going to do this now?
No, I mean, it's intentionality at the end of the day. It's focus, it's commitment and resolve. And it's about dropping everything else and just prioritizing a middle, beginning, and an end. We had a date with destiny in terms of our internal timelines and those that we transparently made public, and we wanted to exceed them. We wanted to beat our own best estimates. And so there was an internal competition of sorts between ourselves and agencies. There's pride in work, pride in product. That pride was reflected in Security Paving and their team and the contract. To your question, the contract that provided time and materials and 21% contingency bonus. We have partnerships, we have federal reimbursements. There are a lot of conditions that are unique and distinctive in an emergency like this, but absolutely those things can be applied more broadly. And this can-do attitude, moving heaven and earth, as we reflected and stated over a week ago, should be brought to bear on a lot of other things. So to me, this is directional. It's a flywheel effect. I think it only bodes well for subsequent work across the spectrum of issues here in this state.
But do you understand that frustration why some people say, look, if you can do this for this, why can't we do this for other things?
Absolutely. 3,275 encampments have been cleaned up at Caltrans since we announced Clean California. $1.1 billion was set aside, new partnerships. I mean, these are exponentials compared to what we've seen in the past. It's a large state, size of 21 state populations combined. A lot of great things are happening all across the state. You heard the Vice President make that point, all across America. I always say this, you're nothing but a mirror of your consistent thoughts. Whatever you focus on, you'll find more of. I hope folks focus on the success of this, and they'll find more successes. The mayor's successes locally, the supervisor's successes in her districts, Assembly members and senators and congressmen and women that are doing good work everywhere and also should be recognized, not just the things we fall short of expectation, but the things where we exceed expectation.
Good morning, Eric Resendiz with ABC7. Good news today for drivers that come through here on the I-10. What is the message y'all would like to share for these business owners who were impacted by this historic fire? Many of them are from different countries. They face many obstacles. We do know that even, there's a language barrier. What is the message? They're looking for a sign of hope because they depended on their business for their family's livelihood.
Well, a top priority for us. That's why getting this exit that you see behind me open is foundational. That's why I mentioned that in my remarks up top. Getting Lawrence between 10th and 14th open, getting this exit open, so more ease of access to these businesses. But I'm going to do one better. We were literally just having, this reinforces a message. Not only is it top of mind, it was part of the conversation we were having as we walked to this microphone. And I want to just ask Supervisor Solis to come up, who specifically wanted to reinforce this point about the imperative of getting emergency grants and support for these small businessmen and women.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, the County of Los Angeles is working with the Mayor's office and with the state. We know that there are approximately 600 or more businesses that have been impacted. They've either had closure or they lost income during this 8-day period. So we know that we have to gather survey information to see who's suffering what issues and then get verification and then go back out and create that systemic plan that's going to help address those issues, especially to the immigrant and those that don't speak English. Queremos a decir que sí, vamos a estar aquí para ustedes, para dar información si necesitan ayuda financiera de su negocio. Estamos trabajando con el alcalde, Karen Bass, y con el estado, con Governor Newsom y también agencias de los pequeños negocios, SBA, for example, they do have loans available for these kinds of emergencies and disasters. So we're going to be collectively working on that. That's our role as the county. So we are here as a partner with all of you here. And thank you so much, Governor, to the Biden administration, to all the electeds, and to our firefighters, and especially our workers, the carpinteros, todos los que estaban trabajando tan duro 8 días para hacer este milagro. Thank you very much.
And let me join with the supervisor because we work hand in hand together. Yesterday, I met with several of the businesses right around in this area who were severely impacted. One business told me that their traffic was down 40 to 50%. We told them that we believe we can provide resources at emergency.lacity.gov. Yesterday, I also spoke to our state insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara. He is going to be meeting with the businesses soon, but he also talked about that there were possible resources with the Business Interruption Fund. So we know how this has impacted our area. We've surveyed all the businesses, and we will continue working with them until they are whole.
Good morning, Bailey Miller here with NBC Los Angeles. Can you provide an exact time of when the 10 freeway will be open this evening? I know many people are anxious, and then of course what people will be seeing over the next few months here on the 10 freeway.
I've tried to be, we've been very transparent, and I've been very cautious in that transparency. It'll be open fully for the commute tomorrow morning. It will be open later this evening. I don't want to have you feel misled when you come by and you go, wait, they've opened it tonight. Tonight means tonight. We don't know exactly when, at least 8 hours after we all depart, is the internal conversations we've been having, but it may take a little bit more time. I want to make sure it is safe. I want to make sure everything's ready. The imperative is getting it open for commute tomorrow morning, but it will be open later this evening.
And what people will be expecting to see over the next few months here on the 10 freeway? You're
going to see a lot more work being done underneath. You're going to be seeing this temporary shoring change to permanent shoring. You're going to be seeing a lot of concrete work that's being done. Some of that concrete work will require episodically during the evening, try to mitigate any impacts to traffic. There may be some closures, modest closures, but you'll see that cosmetic work and some of the substantive work being done, but primarily what lies underneath will not be felt mostly by commuters whatsoever.
Cara Finstrom with Kay Callaghan. Just one more question. Do we have a feel for the overall cost? We talked about $3 million in federal aid.
Yeah, I want to be careful about the cost. They're still being assessed. And as you know, we have a cost reimbursement structure. 100% of the costs are reimbursed by the federal government up into the opening, so 8 more hours. So let's get everything we need in. And then it's 90, I think it's 91.57%. So it's 90+% reimbursement after the fact. But fortunate to have that kind of reimbursement and that partnership, but it's in the low millions at the moment. But again, we're still assessing those invoices, and as soon as we get them, we'll make them public.
And so for now, Alameda Street, the exit, and the stretch of Lawrence Street, are those the only 2 parts that won't be reopening?
Yeah, Lawrence between 10th and 14th, to be specific, will take a little bit of time, but we're hoping to move it quickly. And then, obviously, the impacts on the edges here, and you can see that with the off-ramp. So we're going to have a little bit more time there. But that's the only 2 substantive impacts that are not resolved at the moment. Correct. Okay. Anybody else?
Just big. You've spent a lot of time here the last week. What's your big takeaway from this experience?
Pride. I mean, I'm wearing a pride hat for a reason. I didn't just run in and decide if I should wear a Dodger hat or a Giants hat to come down.
That before.
Yeah, we've done that before. My Dodger friends here. But pride is, look, it goes to your question. I mean, this is about pride. It's about government getting things done. It's what you'd expect. It's what you should expect every day about everything. I get it. I'm a taxpayer. I just paid my taxes last week. And I get it. We want those dollars to go far. We want them to be used as they're intended to use. But what I love about a project like this is, a lot of things in life are directional. There is no having made it, so to speak. Success is hard to define. It's not a place. It's a direction. When it comes to a project like this, success has a timeline. You can feel it. You can see it. You can you understand it. It's visceral, and that's why it's an imperative that we over-deliver in times like this. I mean, this was 8 days. We were talking about 6 months.
Yes.
Those weren't just public conversations. I can assure you they were private ones. You recall 8 days ago, we were very public, and the mayor and I made the point that we were running in parallel an operation to literally secure a prefab freeway that would be constructed off-site to be brought on-site. And we didn't know until that chemical sampling came back 48 hours later that we were not going to be placed in that burden or that position, and that we can retrofit it. But that 3 weeks was very real, 3 to 5 weeks. And then everything went our way. We had updates over the course of the last week on some of that shoring work. We were able to use half of the bents that we expected, and we were able to go from 6 to 36 jacks, and we were able to increase by another 30 number of carpenters on site. So the materials and supplies, they all came in. But again, I cannot impress upon you. I know we keep saying it, and don't think it's rote, don't think it's cliched. It's just a damn fact. It was the pride of the workers behind me. Mm-hmm. And the vice president made a comment that was an important comment, and it may seem as an aside to you, but it was a comment and reflection of a conversation she was having with some of these folks. And they're saying, we did 12-hour shift, but it was really 14 hours. And they expressed pride that this was important to them and their community, the quality of the work. There was a sense of urgency. And I love that. So for me, spirit and pride, and you can't legislate spirit and pride. It just shows up, and it shows up at times like this. And everybody you see in front of me, behind me, side of me, they showed up as well, and I couldn't be more proud of each and every one of them. Thank you all very, very much. Enjoy your commute tomorrow.